person, I'd like to welcome you to the St. Louis Artists Guild. My name is Michael Hunt. I'm the Executive Director. And I would like to say that the St. Louis Artists Guild is a kind of creative, renewable energy. All right? Now, how can I make that statement? St. Louis Artists Guild was founded in 1886 and has been continuously running with artists and serving artists and renewing all this creative energy since 1886. All right? We had the first building was down on Union Avenue, and then the Guild moved to Webster, and then we moved here in 1995, and at that point this was a derelict building, believe it or not. It had been vacant for approximately 10 years, and this was the site of the St. Louis Natural History and Science Museum. This was full of stuffed bears and little rodents and all sorts of things, Natural History Museum, and they left and went down to their new place as the Science Museum at Kings Highway and Oakland. So this building had to be totally retrofit. There was no elevator. The St. Louis Artists Guild installed an elevator. The heating system, air conditioning systems all had to be looked at. So we've gone through a lot of that, and now it's time for reassessment and looking at what we can do now going forward to make it a better building and see what we can do to be green. First of all, before I introduce people, I would be derelict in my duties as Executive Director if I did not thank the sponsors, the people who are making this possible. So I would like to thank the following people for their financial assistance. Emerson, the U.S. Green Building Council of the Missouri Gateway Chapter, the St. Louis University Office of Sustainability, Pedro's Planet, the Missouri Arts Council, a state agency, and the Regional Arts Commission. Thanks to all those people who make it possible. The first person I'd like to introduce to get the festivities moving is Dana Gray. She was very instrumental in putting this together, and she is an independent contractor in the architectural area and several other nefarious jobs that she may tell you about. So Dana.
Not actually architecture, art, but that's okay. Close enough. I consider architecture one of the arts. When Richard and I met and talked about creating the exhibit, we both had the understanding of wanting to use a universal language of art to educate on the subject of sustainability. And then in the process of working with Gina and Pat, we talked about who both work here at the Guild and were instrumental in making this all come together. We talked about having a panel discussion. And so Richard and I brainstormed over coffee one day about who from St. Louis did we want to invite to participate. And we think we have a really good representation of people involved in the industry. Living it, teaching it, installing it, working with municipalities. So we hope that this will help spur further conversations and inspire more people in St. Louis to live sustainably.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to introduce Jean Ponzi. She's going to be our panel moderator, and she will introduce all the people on her panel and maybe give you some idea of why they're sitting up here. Jean is one of the directors at Earthworks. She also has a program on KDHX called Earthworms. And is there anybody here that doesn't know her? Okay. One person. Thank you.
What's your name? Marty.
Marty, Jean, nice to meet you.
Jean, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you very much for coming. I might get up and wander around the room as we're having this conversation. Earthworms, the radio show that I do on KDHX that I have been very privileged to get to host for 23 years, is a conversation every Monday night about green topics. And at the beginning of the time, for most of the time that I did that, it was a very marginalized set of topics. But now it is a mainstream set of topics, which makes me very happy, even though, as you probably may agree, human beings, not the greenest bulbs in the array, we still have a lot to learn and still have a lot to talk about. I brought a I brought a little set decoration here tonight. Does anyone know what this is?
I do.
Dana?
That is a kick-ass award.
Yes. And Bob Hansman and I are both 2011 winners of Kick-Ass Awards. I know there are a number of them. Now this is a very grassroots honor, and it is bestowed upon people who are total honor. And I feel like I can say the name of it with an impunity in this company because you can see that there is a biological association with the name of this award. It's not all, jargon. It's not all like jive. Yes, jive. It's really.
There it is.
And this is an award. That's right. Very handsome, locally made South St. Louis, buy local. That's green. And the purpose of this is to honor people who are making St. Louis, our region, a better place to live in various ways. And one of the things I like about it is it reminds us that we can make the place where we live a better place to live by accentuating the positive and helping each other and doing good things every day, and also every once in a while by getting out our rubber mallets and applying them in a targeted fashion. And rubber. Makes a nice, satisfying phone. So anyway, I just brought this as a prop because I think with the crew that we have up here tonight, with the distinguished panelists that Dana and Richard have recruited to speak with you and speak with each other, I think we'll come out of this with some good ideas and perhaps some directions, some good connections that can be used in our various lines of work and interaction to make this community, and by association the planet that we live on, a better place by accentuating the positive and applying boot to butt when necessary. So, that's why that's there. Excuse me. I have rather lengthy biographies about some of my fellow panelists here. So I'm just going to say the summary thing at the beginning, and as a good radio talk show host, interweave some of those other qualifications as the conversations go on, so you'll have to pay attention. On the end of the table, Tom Brayford. Tom and I have known each other for a long time. He is co-founder of Irresistible Community Builders, LLC, and is representing, among other interests, the creation of intentional communities, the building of community in our environment, our shared environment. Bob Hansman, on my left, associate professor in the Washington University Architecture Department, and an artist, and an individual who personally, with his son, with his neighbors, with his colleagues, has been doing community building through the arts for a long time in some very innovative and nitty-gritty ways. On my right, Charlie Vinz, who I'm pleased to meet for the first time tonight. Charlie is an architect and a designer. Next to Charlie is Mark Lopata, who is a principal of the St. Louis-based business Microgrid Energy. Mark is a lead AP, he is a PE engineer, and Microgrid is responsible for putting some of the largest and most numerous photovoltaic electric arrays on buildings that we now have around town. So business is pretty good there, and that's a good thing for you all and the planet. And last but not least on the end, John Wagner. John is the Community Policy Director for the nonprofit organization Focus St. Louis. So working with municipalities, no small feat in the region that we share. John works his hocus pocus, you can focus magic, and tries to get that herd of cats to do green things. So there is a little informal introduction to our panel, and as I said, other qualifications, other connections will come out in the discussion. Gentlemen, I'd like to ask you each in turn to say a few words about your personal and or professional connection to the concept of sustainability and the built environment. John?
Well, from a professional perspective, at Focus, part of what we do, we have the Environmental Sustainability Roadmap come out, almost 2.5 years ago, I guess, September of 09, and it specifically made to work with municipalities, trying to get cities to become more green, because as the report says, and the research that we found, a lot of the decisions that affect sustainability those decisions are made at the local level, energy, building codes, land use, transportation, and so on. They have a regional effect, but a lot of the decisions are made very locally, so changing the city's minds can be really beneficial and kind of go a long way. And personally, I guess that's kind of where things kind of mix with me a little bit. I'm also working on a PhD in sustainability type issues, so it's not a lot of difference there for the most part. So, but I think it has to do with a lot of awareness and kind of changing minds and having that lead to sustainability. In addition to all the nuts and bolts stuff that I'm sure Mark works with, having the awareness, I think, is a critical component.
And just say a little bit more about what the sustainability roadmap is.
The sustainability roadmap is, there's a couple of cards available on the Gateway Chapter table out there. The product I want to focus is task force. We had this task force on disaster preparedness, workforce housing, recent one on charter schools, and we happen to have one on environmental sustainability starting in October of 2008. And we had really a who's who of environmental people in the region on the task force. We talked about what sustainability meant for the St. Louis region as opposed to what it means in Seattle, for example. And then we got a list of the items we wanted to tackle. We have land use, transportation, open space, materials procurement, stormwater issues, that's a big one around here, and energy and water and building type issues, really. And we covered pretty much every topic under the sun. We made it have a specific list of recommendations for the cities to tackle, so they don't have to make them up themselves. They have to go try to find out what they're supposed to do. I mean, it's right there, boom. And we have a short, medium, and long-term recommendations. So a city like Clayton that's already done quite a bit can benefit from this, and a city that hasn't done anything at all can benefit as well. So it's made for big cities, small cities, rich cities, poor cities, I guess, really. So it's really meant to be used by every city in the region. So it's